Okay, guys, here we go. New chapter. So I have quick announcements that I will start with and conclude the lesson with. On the board over there where I put my little asterisks, you can see your announcements. So if you did not bring the skills practice with you today, make sure you have it with you on Monday. We're in chapter 5 now. So you need to tear out chapter 5 skills practice as well as 3.6. That's part of this group. So what we're going to be doing this today and next week is 5.1, 5.3, 5.5, and then 3.6. So there's only 4 sections. It's a really quick chapter. I need you to also bring textbook 3.6 with you as well, and then you'll have everything you need for next week. Because remember I said don't throw away the textbook. Next, there's survey online. If you haven't started it yet, it's due by Thursday this class period. So when you leave on Thursday, lunchtime, I'm going to pull it up. So make sure it is done. It's not like when you get around to it, so please don't procrastinate, because if something happens, you can't pull it up on your phone, or something happens with your Wi-Fi or whatever, you've got this whole stretch of time to get it in. You just have to take care of that, okay? It is labeled, I think, Q2 for quarter 2. Number 1, first survey and second quarter. Your next graphing quiz is Wednesday, the 24th, this coming Wednesday. It is the last of the parent function graphing quizzes. So after that, I'm going to start moving it right, left, up, down, etc. I did not put logs. I did not put piecewise, but any of the other 8, as well as domain, range, and end behavior. On Thursday, you have your weekly homework question. It's from 5.1, 3, and 5, so 3, 6 won't be on that part. And then a week from Monday on 10/29 is your test, okay? And then we leap into chapter 7, 8, and then we go back to 6. I'm already to the point where, because we're finished the 10th week of school, I'm already to the point where I'm already looking at study guides for the exam, because I want to have them ready for you before Thanksgiving break, and we're almost at the end of the month, and then all of a sudden it's going to be Thanksgiving break. Keep in mind with your grades, so look in the back board for me, please. Those are your class stats. So you can see where you fall compared to other people, other classes. So you can see that the bulk of you guys made A's. That's really good. You can see, and this came up at a parent conference. So if you add my total A's and my total B's, you could see that 140 out of 160 students made A's or B's. Okay? So would a question, I need somebody to open the door, please. Would the statement of, oh, nobody did well in Mrs. Stewart's class be valid? Yes or no? No. Okay, you need to do the test, so I will say, hold on 1 second. Grab each. That's for your 9 weeks grade, because I'm still grading your test papers. So let me put this on hold. Did I not? Okay, guys, continuing on. Hopefully I didn't mess this up. So today's lesson, we're going to be using a lot of prior knowledge. Same thing next week. It is imperative as you continue, and you guys had A's, B's, and a couple C's, that you know what we did first semester, because we keep going back to quadratics. We keep going back to factoring and making basic graphs. So if you ended up missing factoring on the test, you are going to need to know how to factor all year long. You need to go back and learn it. That was a matter of, if you truly did the 47 questions that I assigned over 2 days, plus the A through like J on the study guide, there is no way you couldn't have been able to factor other than you chose not to practice. Okay, that's what factoring is about, truly practicing and owning it. So today we're going to solve polynomial inequalities. So inequality, you're thinking the greater than, less than symbols. So we're going to be working with those, but not with lines. We're going to be doing this with your parabolas, 3rd degree, 4th degree, etc. So there are 2 basic topics here, but before I get into that, when you make your graphs for me on your test, whenever it is a parabola, I expect it to be detailed. That means it's easy to give the 2 roots on the x-axis by factoring, and then I want the vertex, whether you go back and use your negative b over 2a, whether you use completing the square, whether you add your 2 roots together and divide by 2 and plug it back in, but you have to be able to graph a parabola, okay? If it is a degree higher than that on the test, unless I tell you otherwise, I'm looking for a sketch. But parabolas, I expect you to know how low or how high it should go. So please, please make sure that was chapter 2, and we spent a month on that. So make sure you can do that. Okay, so your summary is great for this section. So I actually took snippets of it so I could run through those with you here. It says here we're going to determine when a polynomial function is greater than and when it is less than the 0 using its roots. So you just got your textbook. That means every one of you has a chapter summary with you because it's at the end of the chapter. So you might want to take that out because my second example I'm going to add to it. I would put this whole summary with my study guide so that as I practice, I can keep studying with the summary. Now, it says to do this, to determine when a polynomial function is greater than or less than 0, first we're going to determine the zeros of the function. So looking at the picture, would you agree that your zeros of the function happen at -4, 0, and 4? Can everybody see that? It says then we're going to use the graph to determine whether the function is greater than or less than 0 for the intervals between the zeros. So translation. Here's my solution, and I'm going to highlight, I'm going to go over what I'm talking about. So the first part is talking about f of x. When my graph, f of x is the graph, when is the graph less than 0? All it's asking you is, when does it dip below the x-axis? So let's go over this and see when that's going to happen. When does this go below the x-axis? Tell me some spots. Below the x-axis. Between what and what, or to the left of something, to the right of something?
To the left.
Perfect. To the left of -4 is one spot. We'll write it algebraically in a sec. Between 0 and 4, awesome. And that's it, right? Oh, didn't we just say to the left of -4? And between 0 and 4. That's the answer. Okay, let's do greater than. When is the picture, look at the graph, when does this graph go above the x-axis? Because that's when y is bigger than 0. Above the x-axis, would you agree, is here? Yes? So that is between -4 and 0. And it's also right here when x is bigger than 4. Done. This is, I understand what my intercepts are, and I understand how to read a graph. Practice directions. Some of you miss things because you don't take the time to read the directions I put on the study guide, which I tend to use on the test again, because then I word it the same way, and you should be able to know, oh, she just means this. Question on this. I will do more examples later on. Anyone? Okay. Other one. This is the other type of question of the day. So it says we're going to be solving polynomial inequalities, and we're going to do it algebraically and graphically. On the test, I have one graphically for sure, where you have to graph and then answer the question. The other one says algebraically, but you could do it any way you want because I don't require a graph. So you can do the algebra I'm going to show you that you can write in right on the summary, or you can do it graphically, whichever you are better at. Okay, now. It tells me that we're going to either factor or use quad formula to find my x-intercepts. I need to know what x equals. What kind of shape is this? Parabola, okay? So if I'm going to do this graphically, it means it did not come already with the graph. I would actually have to make the graph all by myself. So I'm going to factor this in one sec. And then it says that we want to choose a test point between the intervals created by roots or graph the equation to determine which values satisfy the inequality. So I'm going to translate for you. Step 1, I factored it. Step 2, I put -3 and 4 on the graph. Still with me? Now, I could find the vertex by doing -b/2a from the original. So the opposite of -1 is 1 over twice 1 gives me half. How do I get the y part of that ordered pair for the vertex? Do you remember? plug it in. So you would plug half back in for the x's, and it gives you, I think, about negative 12 1/4. So that's how they ended up with this nice point right down there. So you would be making the sketch. By now you know how to do that. Now, this right here says, when does the graph go below 0? So I'm going to ask you, I'll go over it in different colors. Does it go below 0 right here? Yes or no? No. So you're kind of testing three parts. You're testing, is it when it is less than negative 3, and you said no. Is it right here between negative 3 and 4? Does it go below 0 there? Yes. Okay. Is it, let's go. Is it right here? Yes or no? No. And that's when your value was bigger than 4, and you said no. So where do you see it's happening? In the middle section, it's happening between negative 3 and positive 4, which is what they give you right on the summary. It's you being able to A, graph, and B, read your graph. Had they said, I'll take your question in a sec. Had they said greater than 0, then it would have been what's happening with the red and green arms on my picture. So it would have been when my graph was less than negative 3 and greater than positive 4. Now note, listen to my words on this. If you have a parabola, this is specific to parabola. If you have a parabola that is opening upward only, parabola opening upward, less than will be that middle section. Greater than will be the outside two sections. Okay? It doesn't work with everything else, but it works with that, with the parabola. Okay? Now, question on this, and then I'm going to show you the algebra.
So, you know what? It's in between these
Uh-huh. Well, your choice was, so this one, when it's less than, is that what you're saying? When it's less than, and it's a parabola that opens upward, specifically, then it's the in-between section. That little trick doesn't work when it opens downward. Okay, now, I want to show you how to work this through algebraically. So, and the textbook does as well. They're going to have you build a basic number line. So I'm going to build a number line, and on my number line, I'm going to put the two roots that I'm talking about. So what you're going to be testing algebraically is your answer less than negative 3? Is your answer between negative 3 and 4? Or is your answer bigger than 4? That's what you're just like we did on the picture. We're doing the same thing, but we're going to just do it with numbers versus a picture. So here we go. The textbook does their work right below each of the sections on the number line. Keep in mind, number line's like your x-axis. I'm going to do it on the side, making a chart so that it's a little more organized. So I need to pick something less than negative 3 to test. I need to pick something between negative 3 and 4, and I need to pick something bigger than 4. Questions so far? Okay, so I'm going to pick, so this is my pick. Negative 4 for less than negative 3, 0 for in the middle, and 5 for bigger than 4. Still with me? You're going to be plugging it in, whether it's in your head or you have to write it out. You can put it into the factored form or into the quadratic form of the equation. So let's do into the factored form. So if I take negative 4 and plug it into the factored form, and it truly doesn't matter which form you use, what happens? Negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. Negative 4 and negative 4 is negative 8. What does that give you? 8. Okay. And this is the part you don't have to write, you're just thinking it. The question is 8 less than 0? No. So that's not part of my answer. I don't want that one. Now, we're going to test 0. So if you put 0 inside here, 0 and 3 is 3. 0 take away 4 is negative 4. Is negative 12 less than 0? Yes. Yes means this is either my answer or part of my answer. Next one, 5. 5 and 3 is 8. 5 minus 4 is 1. Is 8 less than 0? No. So that's not part of my answer. There's my answer. That's the algebra. And again, this part right here, you can show as much or as little of it as you want. I just wanted you to see what I was thinking so you would have it written out and people at home would have it written out. That's all we're doing today. This is what we're practicing. I just have more examples. You would just break it, split up. So since this did not have an equal to sign with it, suppose that it was the first two, then you would write x is less than negative 3, comma, negative, yeah, yes. Where did the 8 come from? When I plugged which 8 do you want, first of all? Okay, I did the math. I took 5, and I plugged it in for the x's. So 5 plus 3 is 8. 5 take away 4 was 1, and 8 times 1 is 8. I chose factored form because it's quick. If you like quadratic form, do quadratic form. That's fine. Question before I do more examples. Okay? So you already have the gist of everything. Now, textbook, page 408, 409 is for you to read. I'm going to summarize a little bit of it, but these are good examples that they go through to show different approaches. And then I have more of my examples coming up. So they're reminding you in that information on 408, 409 that if it's just a less than or greater than, it's like a dotted parabola, just like it would have been a dotted line. If it includes an equal to, then you know it's solid. They're talking about 4 different people here and their solutions. So that's what they're comparing. So first here is Samson. I don't use Samson's approach, but if you like his approach, go for it. So I just want to talk about what he did. He took the given equation, the negative 24 is bigger than 2x squared plus 14x, and he broke it into 2 sentences, the left side and the right side. So the left side is y is negative 24. The right side was the parabola 2x squared plus 14x. He graphed both. He graphed his line right here, and then he graphed that parabola. The question is, though, it's asking where is the line, the 24, greater than the parabola? Where is the line, it's negative 24 actually, greater than the parabola? So if you look at it, the line is bigger than the parabola right there. Would you agree? Because that's where it dips down below it. So I need to talk about that section right there, which is how he ended up with his answer between negative 4 and negative 3. That's one approach. Again, you read it after. I don't want to waste time with stuff you can look at that they did everything. This is Paco. Paco took his equation and set it equal to 0. This is the way most of you would probably approach it. So we set it equal to 0. And whether you keep it in the format you would have it, or you rearrange it so that it's more the way you're used to. So I wrote 2x squared plus 14x plus 24 is less than 0. It's the same kind of question, okay? It is a second degree equation. So I know I'm making a parabola. I already know my end behavior, both arms are up. I would factor it. That's what I did for you on the right because he went right to his final answer. And it factored as an x plus 4x plus 3. So we put points at negative 4 and negative 3 on the x-axis. The line you're comparing it to then is the line of y is 0, which is the x-axis. That's the other side of the equation. So now we want to know, you're looking for line greater than the parabola. Where is the line greater than the parabola? And again, look at the original sentence, line greater than parabola. Okay, that's what it says. Where is the line bigger than the parabola? Where is the line bigger than the parabola? Between negative 4 and negative 3, right here. So that's how they got the answer. Okay, again, you can read through all his words. Okay, Callie took the breaking it down algebraically. She did her work right below each part and above it on the number line. It's what I just did for you on the table. And then just tell me real quick why Sal is wrong. Where did he go wrong early on? What didn't he do? You know this. He didn't set it equal to 0. So step 1 would have been to get everything to one side, set it equal to 0, so you can factor. So he made a mess before he even started. Okay, so please read this for yourself. This is from the skills practice number 2. So you could do it right on there. Your homework starts on number 3, so you're doing 3 to 6, 13, 15, 17, and I even gave you study guide questions that match up with it, so you can practice those as you go. Okay, so look at the directions. That's going to be the only trouble a few of you have on this is what are they asking me to do? So the directions say analyze the graph. Look at the graph. Identify the set of x values to represent when p of x is less than 0, below the x-axis, and when p of x is greater than 0, meaning above the x-axis. So let's go through that together. When is my graph, look at the graph, when is it below the x-axis? Give me some parts. Good. So between 3 and 5 right here, it is definitely below the x-axis. Is that it? Where else? Good. So right here, and that's continuously going to the left forever. So when your x value is less than -1. I just answered that question. Okay, now let's take a look at when it's above the x-axis. Give me some stuff. Give me some values. I heard a quiet voice. Good. From -1 to +3. So from -1 to +3. Awesome. And where else? From 5 to forever. So when x is bigger than 5. Somebody asked last hour, could they write it 5 to infinity? Absolutely. Yeah, same thing. So you know how to write it multiple ways. It doesn't matter to me. Big thing is that if you can interchange all these approaches, then when you see multiple choice on the exam, you're going to recognize it no matter what, as long as you understand it. That's this problem. So you have a bunch of homework questions like that. Question. So read the directions each time so you understand what you're answering, so then when you have to do it the day of the test, you know what the directions are asking you. Question. Okay. Anybody still writing this down? Okay, this is number 13 on the skills practice. I think if you look on the skills practice, not the study guide, I think it's one of your homework problems. Yes? No? Look and see if it matches up. If you brought it with you. Okay, so on your homework, this gave me x squared minus 3x minus 10. It says is less than 0. So we want to solve it. If you have to graph it, so I'm going to do this both ways for you. If you have to graph it, the first thing we're going to be doing is, do you know you're graphing a parabola? Shake your head if you're not going to talk to me. Yes, okay. Could you look at that and say, yes, I can factor it? I factored it as x minus 5x plus 2. So right away, I know I have points at x is 5 and x is -2. Still with me? And behavior, do you know that by looking at it? Okay. Now, how could you find the vertex? Talk to me. Good, -b over 2a. So -3 is 3 over twice 1 gives you 3 over 2. Take 1.5, plug it in for both your x's, whether it's in your quadratic or your factored form, it gives you the same answer. And I got -12.25. So that means the other value I know is at 1.5 and about down here. That's enough to make the parabola. Okay, that's all I need. I have an arm and an arm. I know how low it should go. Full credit on the parabola with that being done. Now, we need to answer the question. The question is, when is my graph, that's what it's talking about, when is my graph less than 0? When is my graph less than 0? Between what and what? Good. So between -2 and 5, it dipped below 0. Done. Question? Opposite of b over 2a. Opposite of b. Opposite of -3 is 3. Yeah. So that chapter 2 comes back to haunt you all year long. Question on the graph. Okay, so that would be a test question. I graphed it, I answered the question, I'm done. Okay, there's no shading for you to do or anything, it's you identifying. Now, algebraically, if it didn't say you had to graph, you could still graph and answer the question, but if you didn't want to, you could set up a number line. So my number line here is talking to you about those same -2 and +5. So what you're thinking is, your answer could be less than -2. So I wrote that. Your answer could be between -2 and 5. So I wrote that. And your answer could be bigger than 5. So I wrote that. And then I want to test values that fit in that area. So less than -2, I chose -3. Between -2 and 5, I chose 0. And bigger than 5, we chose 6. Okay? You're going to plug it in. You can use the quadratic, or we can use the factored form of it. So let me delete these out for a sec and write the factored form. So whatever you're better at when you're plugging in, you could be using your calculator, you might use your brain, go for it. So here we go. If I plug in -3, I'm going to use the factored form. -3 and -5 is -8. -3 plus 2 is -1. Would you agree that gives me 8? Is 8 less than 0? Remember, that was the question. Is 8 less than 0? No. So that's not one of my answers. Okay? Next, we're going to test 0. What does 0 give you? You can plug it into either sentence. Tell me what it gives you. Should take like 2 seconds. There's -10. Couldn't you plug it into the standard form really quick? Replace both x with 0, and that would give you a -10. Is -10 less than 0? Yes. Oh, what a surprise. The middle section. Parabola, opening upward, less than. Now, last but not least, when it's bigger than 5, I chose 6. If I plug it into the factored form, 6 minus 5 is 1. 6 and 2 is 8. Is 8 less than 0? No. So it's not that one either. So my answer is the values between -2 and 5. So same kind of problem, 2 different ways. But you absolutely have to be able to graph and answer it. But you also have a backup plan. If after you graph it, you're not sure how to read the graph, you could always do the algebra. Okay. Question? Besides me doing one of your problems for you.
How do you know which side goes first? For like 1 and 3. Like for that 0.
Like right here, this -2, come up here and point. I'm not sure I know which piece you're talking about.
Like, how did you know this side and this side?
Oh, I took this. So when I was pointing, I said all the scenarios. So this is x is less than -2. This is this part of the number line.
Okay.
Then between the two is this part of the number line. And then bigger than it is this part of the number line. So I broke up my thoughts thinking of the number line, which is really your x-axis. Absolutely. Anybody else? Clarification? Okay. Got a couple more. This is the summary again. I don't have time for that. Here we go. Factor by grouping was on your test. So, step 1. This is what I know going into the problem. Always read the question first. It is a third-degree equation. It's a positive x cubed, so you're thinking this. How many answers will there be? How many answers can a third degree get? 3. Okay. So I did my factor by grouping, and then after that I had an x squared plus 2x minus 5. That gave me a real answer at x is 5. When I continued with x squared plus 2 and set it equal to 0, that gave me I root 2. Is that on the x-axis? Yes or no? No. So how many answers are going to be on the x-axis? Just one. Just this right here. Just the 5. That's the only thing that's on the x-axis. Now, other thought. And behavior, I knew that this has to go upward. That's the only value on the x-axis. The only other value I can do for sure without doing any work, like making a table, is I can tell you my y-intercept. How do you get a y-intercept? What are you going to plug in? 0 for the x. So what is the y-intercept here? Somebody open the door, please. If you plug in 0 and 0 and 0, you're left with negative 10. Awesome. So I also put a point at negative 10. That's all I know going into the problem, and I know a little bit of end behavior here. There is some action happening in between. How low it goes, I truly don't care. This is how come. The question said, when is your graph bigger than 0? Look, that's all you need. You don't need all the other stuff. When is it bigger than 0? Tell me. Yeah, from positive 5 on. So when x is bigger than or equal to 5, because it had an equal sign with the original, that's where it answers the question. Done. Okay? So all the other stuff there, if you make it, if you sketch it in, is fine, but you didn't need it to answer the question. One more. Pull a lovely fourth degree equation. Again, on your test, I factored, and then I factored some more. Some of you did, some of you chose not to, which means you missed it. So I ended up with answers at positive and negative 3 and positive and negative 2. So look at the points I put on the x-axis. I have negative 3, negative 2, positive 2, positive 3. Where did I get 36 from that I put up top? What is it called? The y-intercept. So I replaced the x's with zeros. That's all I know going into the problem, okay, without making a good old-fashioned table. Okay, but end behavior, I know this, so I put both of those arms in the graph. Now, we want to start connecting. We're just making a sketch. It doesn't have to be detailed. So tell me what you think is happening between negative 3 and negative 2. What is it going to do? It's going to loop. It's going to dip down and come back up again. Okay, so we know that. Do I care how low it goes? No, because you're just making a sketch. Now, what else do you have to do with this graph? Keep talking. What are you going to do next? Do you know where it has to go through next? Where are we aiming towards? The 36 way up on top, the y-intercept. So we're going to take this and continue it all the way up there. And then once it hits the 36, it's going to curve around, and what's it going to do? Head back downward. We know it's going to go through a 2, at some point curve around, and then come back up again. There is a basic sketch. I had just enough to be able to make that. Do I know how low it goes? No. Do I care? No. The question says, where is the graph bigger than 0? It's in multiple places this time, because this was a fourth degree equation. Where is the graph bigger than 0? Look at your visual. Give me something. Between negative 2 and 2, okay? There's more. Positive 3 and what? I need somebody to open the, I don't know if he's from me or no, I guess not. So bigger than positive 3 or 3 to infinity. What else? You've got it. Less than negative 3, and you just answered the question. Can you see how this might take one person 2 minutes to do, and it could take somebody else 20 staring at it because they have no clue even how to approach it? So please practice these. This is like 17 on your homework. Okay? Talk again. I'm not sure I understand what you're asking. This is a 2, 1, 2, and 3. There's a point right here, that's 1, that's 2, and that's 3. Okay, now, your assignment. So I put this nice and large if you need to take a picture of it. So you know you've got your homework, 3 to 6, 13, 15, 17. And we just did one of those together. Up on the whiteboard, I also wrote the study guide problems that match up with those. Survey due Thursday this class period. Graphing quiz Wednesday, no log or piecewise functions on this one. Piecewise will be on the next one after it. No domain, range, and end behavior. Weekly homework question on Thursday. 5-1, 5-3, 5-5, and test a week from Monday. Okay? So you guys are set.